Hi, Dr. Tamara Harville here to discuss supporting details, what their purpose is, and how to locate them within your readings or within paragraphs within your readings. For one, they help you make sense of the main idea. All right, so they can be anything. Here's a list, and this is not inclusive. Notice the last one says other, so descriptions, characteristics, reasons, facts, statistics, anything that could possibly support what it is that's being discussed. So, for example, insects, all of these things, the type of insect and a characteristic of the insect would be supporting details. Or what happened in the story it could be the character settings, events, plot line, all of those things are helping with that main point of the story. So, why do we need them? Well, if you didn't have them, paragraphs would be incredibly short with only one sentence, the only main idea. You wouldn't have any support or explanation to help you understand that main idea, and only our previous knowledge would help us. We'd have nothing to learn. So, for example, if I said type 2 diabetes is a dangerous disease and just stopped, well, how? How is it dangerous? Why is it dangerous? What causes it? Those are the different questions that if you don't know the answers to, elude you. So that's where all the supporting details would come in. This is an example of a hamburger, of how the paragraph would work. You have your topic sentence up here, and you've got all your wonderful details to help explain that and support it, and then your conclusion. And so of the conclusion sentence. So those are your body paragraphs. How do you know if it's a supporting detail? Some clues can be transition words. First, second, third, next, also, in addition to this, another example of to illustrate, finally, any type of transition word in front of a sentence usually clues us in that, hey, there's another detail that they're giving us. Okay. This is just different organizational patterns to help you understand how to locate your supporting details. A list pattern would be a list of characteristics, things, places, etc. So, for example, if I was talking about the Tulsa State Fair, I could talk about the rides and then the different foods, and then maybe the displays in the buildings, things like that. So, that would be kind of a list of all the things that you could encounter there. And so that would help you figure out what those supporting details are. A sequence is like a list, but it's a specific order. If you have a list that you change the order, that's fine. But in a sequence, if you change the order, you could really mess something up. For example, I could say, like changing the oil in my car was an interesting experience. Boring. Okay, but how? Well, the sequence would be first I had to do this, then I had to do that, and then I had to do this. Anybody who's ever changed oil knows that if you mess up one of those, you've got oil everywhere. So it has to be in that specific order. That's why it's called a sequence. Comparison contrast order usually has at least two items. Sometimes there can be more. Talks about the things that are common, the things are different. It could also be pros and cons of something. And then the cause and effect can either be something caused something else to happen or something is the effect of something that happened. So these are different types of organization patterns that might help you figure out what the supporting details are. In paragraphs, this is basically how your essay or paragraph could look. If it's an essay, you'd have your introduction and thesis, and then each of these would be a body paragraph. But in an academic paragraph, you would have your topic sentence to introduce you. Your supporting details would be major and minor. Major and minor. We'll talk about those in a second. And they all explain or support that topic sentence and then end with a concluding sentence. So, what's a major and minor detail? Major details, they're more specific to the main idea. They directly support it and they help improve the point that's being made or to expand our understanding of that point. Minor details are less specific to that main idea, and they actually usually support and explain the major detail to help us understand that detail. And we are going to go through some paragraphs to help you understand these. Okay, Acadia National Park in Maine offers a variety of wonderful scenery. Established as a national park in 1919, it includes a rugged coastal region of great natural beauty and with the highest land on the eastern seaboard. Offshore, the park also encompasses a series of beautiful islands. Finally, the inland portion of the park is forested with spruce and fir and contains lakes and mountains carved by glaciers. So the green part is the topic sentence, that main idea. Everything else sort of supports it. Notice the transitions also and finally. So Acadia National Park, the wonderful scenery, that's the main point. This one's talking about the rugged coastal region. This one's talking about the beautiful islands. And then this one's talking about the trees and the forests. So there you go. So each major detail directly supports that main idea, but we could go even further and add more. Adding more details gives us a bigger picture, but it might be supporting those major points instead of these or the topic sentence itself. Minor details are very specific to a specific detail. Okay, so this is adding those in. Acadia National Park in Maine offers visitors a variety of wonderful scenery. Established as a national park in 1919, it has a rugged coastal region of great natural beauty with the highest land on the eastern seaboard. This rugged shoreline is characterized by wave eroded granite cliffs. For example, the park's Cadillac Mountain rises 1,530 feet above sea level, a surprising height for a coastal area. Offshore, the park also encompasses a series of beautiful islands. These include most of Mount Desert Island, part of Ilha Hop, I think that's how you say that, and a number of other tiny islands, too numerous to name. Finally, the inland portion of the park is forested with spruce and fir and contains lakes and mountains carved by glaciers. Many visitors enjoy an easy hike along this area's beautiful wooded Jordan Pond Natural Trail. So you've got your main idea. The yellow are the major supporting details talking about the park itself, but the blue areas are the minor supporting details that are supporting those major details to help give an overall view. Here's another example. The earliest device created to measure the passage of time was the sundial. It measured the sun's shadow, and that shadow was used to tell time. The water clock was an improvement over the sundial since it didn't depend on the sun and therefore worked on cloudy days and at night. The simplest water clocks measured time by dripping of water through a hole in a clay or stone bowl. More sophisticated Greek and Roman water clocks used water to move hands on a face similar to today's clocks. Once the art of glassmaking was perfected, the hourglass was created to mark the passage of time, as sand slowly shifted from the top of the hourglass to the bottom. People created several ways of keeping track of the passage of time before the invention of the modern clock. So the reason I use this example is because your main idea, the green, is actually at the very end. Everything before it then explains it. So your major supporting details are the sundial, the water clock, the hourglass. Okay, sundial, water clock, and then the hourglass. And then the blue explains more of those. I personally have never heard of a water clock or seen one. I thought that was quite interesting. And then sometimes you have irrelevant details. These aren't really major or minor supporting details, they're just kind of a little extra fact. So back to our Acadia National Park, we have already read that one, but at the very end we have, by itself, this area was known as Lafayette National Park from 1919 to 1929. It doesn't support anything in here, it's just kind of an extra little detail. And so those you don't really have to worry too much about. Well, I hope all this information has helped you understand supporting details and their purpose and why we use them and how to find them. Thank you.